At a shopping mall, three vacant storefronts are conveniently arranged side by side. Bruce, a man interested in starting a men's clothing shop, approaches the mall manager to inquire about renting the leftmost space. The mall manager expresses enthusiasm, informing Bruce that he'll receive a complimentary sign for his store. Bruce succinctly requests the sign to read "Just Menswear." Shortly after, Albert expresses interest in renting the space on the far right for his shop, specializing in men's formal attire. During the discussion about signage, Albert also opts for the sign to say "Menswear." The mall manager informs him that the shop on the left will have an identical sign. Undeterred, Albert agrees, stating that it's perfectly acceptable. Lastly, Herman arrives, expressing interest in the middle space. The mall manager, slightly concerned as both adjacent shops are men's clothing stores, informs Herman about the similarity in signage. Herman takes a moment to think and then grins, saying, "I want my sign to say entrance." Three friends are unwinding in a bar, sharing anecdotes about their married lives. Suddenly, the first guy's phone buzzes, and he hurriedly answers it. After a moment of contemplation, his eyes widen in horror, and he tosses a $10 bill on the counter, muttering, "Oh no, I forgot about the dishes. My wife's almost home." With that, he dashes out like the wind. The second guy chuckles and shakes his head, boasting about his status as the boss in his house. He confidently pulls out his wallet to settle his tab, explaining how he manages to avoid the chore of washing dishes in cold water. He claims that every time he gets home, he simply snaps his fingers twice, and warm water magically appears. With a smirk, he heads for the door. Amidst the domestic commotion, the third man remains seated, leisurely savoring his drink, seemingly unfazed by his friend's household challenges. The curious bartender, intrigued by the apparent calm, inquires if he has everything under control at home, declaring him the king of his castle. The third guy, with a smug smile, nods in agreement. When the bartender leans in, asking about the secret, the third man casually replies that the last time he had a conversation with his wife, she was down on all fours, very close to the ground. Anticipating the question, he adds, "She basically challenged my bravery. She said, 'If you're really a man, come out from under the bed.'" A lady visited the doctor, expressing concern that her husband was losing interest in intimacy. The doctor prescribed a pill, cautioning her that it was still in the experimental stage. He advised her to discreetly slip it into her husband's mashed potatoes during dinner. Following the doctor's instructions, she administered the pill that evening. Returning to the doctor about a week later, she enthusiastically reported, "Doctor, the pill worked wonders. I added it to the potatoes just like you advised. Within 5 minutes, he leaped up, cleared the table of all the food and dishes, disrobed me, and took me right there on the table." Apologizing, the doctor admitted, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize the pill was that potent. The foundation will cover any damages." Nonchalantly, she responded, "No need. We won't be returning to that restaurant anyway." An elderly, blind cowboy accidentally strolls into an all-girl biker bar. Navigating his way to a bar stool, he orders a shot of Jack Daniels. After some time, he hollers to the bartender, "Hey you, got a blonde joke?" Instantly, the bar plunges into absolute silence. In a deep, husky voice, the woman beside him speaks up. "Before you unleash that joke, cowboy, I reckon it's only fair, given your condition, that you know 5 things. The bartender is a blonde girl wielding a baseball bat. The bouncer is a blonde girl carrying a billy club. I'm a 6 foot tall, 175-pound blonde woman with a black belt in karate. The lady to your right is a blonde and a professional weightlifter, and the one to her right is also a blonde and a professional wrestler. Now, ponder it wisely, cowboy. Still keen on telling that blonde joke?" The blind cowboy ponders for a moment, shakes his head, and mumbles, "No, not if I'm going to have to explain it 5 times. A large number of viewers watch my videos without a subscription. Therefore, subscribe to my channel so as not to miss new videos with funny jokes. A husband who had been unfaithful decided to express himself in a letter to his wife. My dearest wife, I trust you'll comprehend that certain needs have arisen for me, which given your age of 54, you may find challenging to fulfill. I want to reassure you of my gratitude for being a wonderful wife. However, I hope you won't misinterpret the fact that I'll be spending the evening with my 18-year-old secretary at the Comfort Inn. Please do not be upset. I'll return before midnight. Upon returning home late that night, the man discovered a response to his letter on the dining room table. My beloved husband, I've received your letter and appreciate your honesty regarding my age of 54. Allow me to remind you that you are also 54. I'd like to inform you that, as you read this, I'll be at Hotel Fiesta with Michael, one of my students and an assistant tennis coach. He's young, vibrant, and much like your secretary, he's 18. As a successful businessman with an excellent grasp of math, you'll understand that we are in a similar predicament, with one slight difference. 18 goes into 54 a lot more times than 54 goes into 18. A construction worker, accustomed to long hours on the job site, decided to surprise his wife with an early return one day. After weeks of tireless work, he envisioned a quiet afternoon at home and, perhaps, taking his wife out for a nice dinner. Upon arriving, he noticed an unfamiliar car in the driveway, but initially, he didn't think much of it. Entering his home with a smile, ready to greet his wife, his expression quickly changed as he heard unsettling sounds coming from their bedroom. Feeling a sense of unease, he cautiously approached the bedroom door and opened it to find his wife in bed with another man. Shocked and disbelieving, he was filled with a rage he had never experienced before. Without thinking, he grabbed the man from the bed, yanking him away from his wife. The other man, caught off guard, struggled as the construction worker dragged him through the house, ignoring his wife's pleas and cries. The husband had one destination in mind: the garage. The garage, filled with tools and equipment from his job, was the construction worker's domain, a place where he felt in control. In the garage, he pushed the man against a workbench and, in a fit of anger, used a vise to secure the man's private parts. The man, now trapped in a horrifying situation, was filled with fear and began to scream and beg. Realizing the gravity of his predicament, he pleaded, "Stop! Stop! You're not going to cut it off, are you? Are you?" The construction worker, standing there with a look of cold retribution, responded in a calm and unnerving tone, "Nope, I'm not going to cut it off. You are. I'm going to set the garage on fire." Sam and Becky have been happily married for 50 years. As they celebrated their special anniversary, they talked about all the good and tough times they faced together. Then, out of nowhere, Sam asked Becky, "Becky, have you ever cheated on me?" Becky was taken aback. Why would Sam ask this after all these years together? But before she could respond, Sam insisted, "Please, I really want to know." After a deep breath, Becky finally gave in. "Okay, I cheated 3 times." Sam's eyes widened in surprise. 3 times? When did that happen? Becky took another breath before explaining. "Well, do you remember when you were 35 and wanted a loan for your business? No bank would help, but one day, the bank manager came to our house and gave you the loan. No questions asked." Sam couldn't believe it. "He did that for me? I respect you even more now for doing that. When was the second time?" Becky hesitated, then said, "Well, when you had a heart attack and no surgeon would operate on you, Dr. Morris traveled here to do the surgery himself and save your life." Sam was speechless, feeling grateful and amazed. "I'm so lucky to have you as my wife," he said, tears in his eyes. "Okay, what about the third time?" Becky hesitated again before admitting, "A few years ago when you wanted to be the president of the fishing club and we were 97 votes short." A man was on his way to a local bar, looking forward to a relaxing evening. As he approached the entrance, he encountered an unexpected obstacle: a nun holding a sign that read, "Alcohol is evil." The determined sister wasted no time in launching into a passionate tirade about the perils of alcohol. She declared, "Alcohol is evil. Alcohol is the devil's tool." The man stood there, attentively listening to the nun's fervent sermon. She continued, "What would your parents think?" This particular statement struck a chord with the man as he contemplated what his late parents might think about his drinking habits. He explained to the nun that both of his parents had passed away, and he genuinely had no idea how they might feel about his choices. Despite the man's somber reflection, the nun pressed on, tirelessly enumerating the evils of alcohol. She even went as far as to suggest, "Your parents are cursing your name from hell." This was the point where the man's patience began to wear thin. He finally decided to confront the nun with a question of his own. "Well, how do you know how bad alcohol is?" he challenged her. "Have you ever even tried a drink before?" The nun, in a moment of self-reflection, admitted, "Well, I guess I have never tried it." The man seized the opportunity to make a deal with the nun. He offered to buy her a drink with a condition. If she didn't like it, he'd swear off alcohol for good. The nun, seeing the sincerity in his offer, agreed to the terms. Together, they ventured into the bar, drawing more than a few curious glances from patrons. The man, feeling rather amused by the situation, asked the nun what she would like to drink. With a sense of uncertainty, she turned to him and inquired, "What do ladies usually drink?" To this, the man responded, "Gin." He promptly ordered a gin for the nun, and she hesitantly took a sip. To everyone's surprise, she admitted that she quite liked it. After savoring the flavor of the drink, the nun suddenly had a change of heart. She decided it was time to leave the bar and embark on a journey of repentance for her own sins. As the man watched the nun make her hasty exit, he couldn't help but feel a bit bewildered by the peculiar encounter. He turned to the bartender and explained, "You won't believe the strange conversation I just had with a nun outside." And that night, he probably shared a laugh about the unexpected twist with his fellow bar patrons.